Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bob Proctor's Secrets of Successful Living, the Rebroadcast, where we're here together for 5 days learning about living in harmony with the law of attraction. Welcome to today's live PGI Success Advisor Roundtable. It's Tommy Collier here, and I'm very glad to be with you steering this ship again today. And welcome everyone that's joining us here on Zoom and connecting in, and everyone that's streaming in from YouTube and Facebook. So glad that you guys are joining us again today. And so we're going to just dive right into Q&A because you guys have met all these three amazing individuals that are here with me already. So today we have Melissa Posey, Bill Banta, and Justin Grima again with us. And so we're just going to dive right in. If you're here on Zoom and would like to ask a question live and jump into the hot seat here and ask a question, I'm going to have you virtually raise your hand. So just click on the reactions button at the bottom of the screen and then click raise hand. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook and would like to come join us on Zoom, I've got the link in the chat there for you. So you can come on and join us on Zoom if you would like. And then you can also type questions into the chat. And we'll get through as many as we can during our little 30 minutes here today. So first up here, I want to ask all three of you, Melissa, Bill, and Justin, how important is self-image and being able to achieve your goals? So ladies first, as usual. Melissa, over to you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, Tommy. Self-image, guys, it is everything. It is the foundation of your success. So you have to become that person. Your self-image has got to match what your goal is. That's why it's so important that you're crystal clear on your goal, but then your self-image has to match that. So let's just say, for example, like your goal is to earn 10,000 a month. Like you have to go into your imagination, hit pen to paper and start writing and thinking about how does that person act, that person that earns 10,000 a month? How does that person make decisions? You know, how is that person showing up in all areas of your life? You've got to take the action. You know, that's one thing that Arash, when he was coaching me on self-image a while back, and when everything changed for me, he said, you know, you can know this, you think you know it, and you can write it, but you've got to take the action. And so that's what I would like to impress upon everyone listening today, is that once you get clear on who that person is, then you've got to be taking the action every single day in all areas of your life, not just in business, you know, not just in personal life, but in all areas, making decisions and acting, talking, walking like that person. Bob always says the fastest way to change your self-image is change the way you dress. You know, so another example, piggybacking on, you know, what I just said about earning 10,000 a month, like how is that person dressing? Like these are some ways to start incorporating and changing your self-image. But like I just said, Tommy, it is the foundation of your success.
Yeah, absolutely. Bill?
You know, it's such an interesting topic because it really affects every single thing in our lives. I mean, it's massive. But I always think about when you start taking your self-image and making it a priority, it'll make a massive difference in what you do. Because then, to Melissa's point, if you make your image a priority, you'll do the action. You'll take the steps, right? You'll no longer question those things because you'll realize who you really are. And I think this is a really good question. You know, who are you? Do you know who you are? And I truly believe that all of us really do. I think we deep down inside know. And so we should just give ourselves that permission to make it a priority. Like take everything that you've been taught this week and let's focus on that for just a little bit and increase who you really are just a little bit. Your actions will be automatic.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, Justin, go ahead.
Well, can I answer the question a little bit differently? Because Mel and Bill have done such a good job explaining it. There might be someone on this call thinking, how do I know where my self-image is conditioned? You know, what's the starting point? And I would say to anyone on this call, if you want to know where your self-image is conditioned, take a look at your results. So if you want to know where your self-image is conditioned around money, take a look at your bank account. If you want to take a look at where your self-image is conditioned around relationships, take a look at your relationships. So it's always a really good starting point to understand where is my self-image condition right now then you could use what Bill and Mel gave to really build that winning self-image.
That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Well, since Bob's lesson today was all about decision, why don't we just talk about decision really quick? Well, before we do that, just want to remind you all, if you're just joining us, we're here doing Q&A with our Success Advisor panel. So if you would like to ask a question, if you're here on Zoom, please virtually raise your hand, or you can type it in the chat and I'll read it out. If you're on Facebook, you can type it in the chat, I'll read it. YouTube, type it in the chat, I'll read it. Okay, let's talk about decision. Melissa, why is decision so important?
Nothing happens until you make a decision. You have got to make a decision, and then things start happening. It has to be a committed decision. This is why in Think and Grow Rich, it's the longest chapter in the book. It's because this is what most people don't do. They wait, they think about it, they wait till the circumstances are just right. Like when you make that committed decision and jump onto that higher frequency, the universe is going to bring you everything you need to fulfill that. But it doesn't happen until you make a committed decision. You know, Tommy, like looking back, there were some key decisions that I made that changed everything for me. And they were uncomfortable. They weren't easy to make. My paradigm, it wanted me to play it safe. It wanted me to wait. But, you know, you have to desire and want the change so badly that you're willing to do whatever it takes. And what I've realized for myself from the past is that when I make these decisions, everything is always backed up. Because I've seen how Bob and so many other students of this material have changed their life with just that one key there. It's making a decision. So, I mean, it's key. It's one of my favorite lessons that we hear Bob teach.
Yeah, it's almost like if you can become a good decision maker and that was all you changed, you would change a lot, right? And I don't mean like making right decisions. I mean just making them.
Because you can always make another decision, right? Like there isn't a wrong decision. You make a decision and you move, and then you may see that, you know, that there's another decision to be made, but making the decisions is keeping you moving.
Totally. That's what were you going to say? Or Bill?
Well, come back to what Bob said at the first of the week when he talked about the experience is more important than the knowledge, right? So the decision causes movement. And that in itself is a massive way to increase your self-image. Right? That experiential process. I mean, if you go down the road and you made a wrong decision, now you have course correction ability. But if you stay the same and you make no decision, that decision's a decision in itself. And there would be no movement. And you know, I had a mentor years ago. I was in a business and I was listening to him talk one day, and he said, God can't steer a parked car. He said, you got to move, right?
Yeah, that's really good.
And when you make that an understanding that fearful people really do hesitate, well, we don't have to be fearful because the worst thing is never going to happen. So you just make the decision and start. And it's that compounded time over and over and over again that gives us that experience. And again, it always goes back to the self-image, right? The experience will enhance your self-image probably beyond anything that we could experience by study is the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Justin?
Yeah, I think that just from personal experience, my life really started to change when I stopped making conditional decisions. And what I mean by that is I studied this material from a distance for 3.5 years. And I always said, I'll start a business when I have time, right? I'll do the coaching when the money's right or when the money's there. And I was always making conditional decisions. When I really flipped that, and then I was making definite decisions, like Bill said, acting on the decisions, that's when everything started to really open up for me. You know, so I think that the biggest thing with decisions is making decisions unconditionally.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so good. Okay, this is good. Let's get into some questions. So first of all, I want to ask this question from Peter on YouTube. He says, does this work for real? What do you say to
by
that?
Law.
Yeah.
It's the law. It absolutely works. It's working while you're sleeping. It's working all the time. You just have to be doing those right things in a certain way every day, right? Work on your mindset, like all these principles Bob has been talking about.
Yeah, I think it's in the book U Squared. There's a chapter, Suspend Disbelief. I think it's that book, right?
Yeah.
So I would say to Peter, challenge yourself, right? Suspend disbelief for like 3 months or 5 months and do exactly what Bob is asking you to do. You know, do what Bill's telling you to do, Mal's telling you to do, what I'm telling you to do. And you're going to see your results are going to change because it's not by luck, it's by law, you know? So for anyone who might be skeptical or thinking, does this really work? Suspend disbelief for 3 months.
Well, and all you have to do is really, like to Melissa's point, look at your current results, and then you realize it's working. It's just it may not be working for you. It probably
that's so good.
Very well could be working against you. So that right there, doubt your doubts. Just let it go. Because if you're not achieving what you want to achieve in life, then you got to do it a different way. It's just not going to work your way. Because the very law, as Bob would talk about, the very electricity that can cook your food is the very electricity that can cook me. I mean, it could kill me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know how to use the principles. And if you're ignorant or uneducated to how to follow the process and understand the laws and the principles, it's very likely that you'll never see results.
Yeah.
You got to know.
Yeah.
So
good. Okay, Jeanette's got her hand up. Let's get her up here. Hey, Jeanette.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm you. How are you doing?
Good. It's good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Thank you so much, all of you, for all what you are giving us. It's amazing what you are making us realize with all the Bob's teaching and everything. We are talking about decisions. So okay, you make a decision you think is the best decision you could ever take in your life. You go ahead with it, and then you realize that might not be the right decision, but you continue with your pride and go ahead and just keep going. So it's the wrong decision. I mean, how does it work, the decision-making process with a person that is super proud? For example, how do you get over that realization that is the wrong decision, but because you have decided to go for it, you continue going and you keep going deeper and deeper into the wrong path?
I'll jump in there real quick because it's interesting. Jeanette, I'll never forget this. I don't even know how long ago this was. I remember a man telling me, he said, you remember that old adage, when one door opens, another one closes? He said, forget that. Don't ever say that again. He said, when one door opens, a second door opens. And when a second door opens, a third door opens. It's just your willingness to accept that movement and going through that decision, because you can course correct. If you're rolling down that hill, you can steer. But if there's no momentum, you're going to be stuck. You're not going to be able to steer. And so that you've got to keep it in your mind that there's no such thing as door closes. If the door closes and you hear it, where are you looking? You're looking behind you, right? Forward. And you can trust your intuition. You can trust your hunch. If you made the wrong decision, just course correct and keep moving as quickly as possible, as fast as you can recognize it. And if you lose, so what? Right? If you're going to achieve your goals, you're going to have a little bit of failure. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you the one that made the decision and are being prideful about it, or is it someone you know?
Well, it was me.
It was you. Okay, cool. All right. I thought maybe you were talking about someone. Does that help then?
That would be the easy answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
and
cool.
Jeanette,
It was my neighbor, definitely.
Okay.
No responsibility.
Cool.
And Jeanette, you can always make another decision, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing here. There isn't a bad decision. Like Bill just said, you just course correct. And actually, when you make a decision and then you're like, oh man, like this wasn't the right decision. Like there's so much learning in that when you make a decision that maybe isn't the right one, like that's where the growth is, right? It's sometimes when you lose or make a decision like that is really when you win. You learn so much out of it. So I would change your perception around it and just view it as, well, now I'm making another decision. If it doesn't feel good inside, I wouldn't keep doing it. just because you made that first initial decision. Like, make another decision, but just like Bill said, keep moving, right? Because you never want to keep doing something that you don't want to be doing or that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I
Thanks,
hope that
Jeanette.
helps.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jeanette. Let's go. I want to just ask, I'm going to come up to Marcia next in just a minute, but I have to ask this. So I apologize if I'm going to be putting you guys on the spot here, coaches, but this is too good. So Camille on Facebook says, could one or two of you name one of your biggest challenges as you moved through this work, how you moved through it, and then what has been one of your biggest victories with real life examples? Because she says, I feel my energy most vibrantly raising when I hear your real actual success stories, not just in theory. So who's got a juicy one they want to talk about?
I'll share.
Okay.
I had spent years, some of you know my story. I started in the 90s studying this material. Literally in 7 years, we had massive momentum in our life, like literally 20,000 a year, 20,000 a week type of momentum. And there was no technology. This was all cassette tapes and CDs. And I hit cruise control. I got comfortable. And so from 2001 until 2007, I was on this upward trend. And then when the economy changed in 2008, I no longer had the edge. I had stopped. And I made some really unintelligent decisions. And it literally cleaned our clocks. It blew everything away. Grateful enough that I had the wherewithal to reach back out and ask for help. And what happened was I'll never forget this. I was in Toronto at a meeting called, it was an offshoot of Matrix. I can't remember what we called this thing, but it was just a 3-day training. And I was stressed to the max, like literally not knowing how to go forward. And Bob pulled me outside and he said, you need to forgive yourself and forgive it and move right now. He said, it is so dead. It is so over. He said, you've got to go. And he gave me a list of things to do. And I just started doing it. And you know, it wasn't even within about 6, 8, 9 months. I had moved on from that. I have rarely now to this point speak about it. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in a loss. And literally I learned to forgive and moved on. And that's one of my biggest takeaways, was that this training and this material put me back in harmony where I was in the 90s. So the biggest mistake actually wasn't the investment. The biggest mistake was stopping. Mm-hmm. That was a terrible decision. Mm-hmm. But I'm here today, right? So it's never too late.
Awesome. Good share. I think Melissa, she must have lost her connection, so I'm sure she'll be right back. Justin, were you going to share?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually a really, really good question. So when I first come across this material, I always tell people I was a carpenter. I was working 65 to 75 hours a week. I was run down, I was stressed, I was fed up and just about ready to give up. And I remember following Bob from a distance on YouTube, and I was reading books, and I made a decision that I was going to quit my full-time job and chase a life of becoming an entrepreneur, right? So mind you, I decided to do it completely on my own. I didn't have mentorship or the right direction. In my first year of becoming an entrepreneur, I earned $900 in my whole first year. And I actually haven't told many people this part of my story. And I remember I met Arash at an event in LA, and I was talking to him, and he said, well, how much are you earning? And I said, well, $900. And he said, a week? And I was so embarrassed. And I said to him, like, no, in this year, you know, and I could see it on his face, like he was taken back, right? So my first year of being an entrepreneur was a huge challenge for me. And I can't tell you how many times I almost decided to quit, you know, and I don't know why I didn't. Then when I finally got the right direction, when I finally got the right accountability, the right mentorship, when I plugged into a system that was time tested and proven, that's when everything changed for me, you know? So yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question the right way.
Yeah, I think Justin just said something so valuable though, Tommy, because, and I didn't finish that part. I should have been more clear. It was interesting how fast we were able to get right back on track because of the process and the system. Yeah. We, all of us, every soul out here, we all know more than we think we do. Mm-hmm. And it is personal. It really should be a personal responsibility to give ourselves permission to understand that and to actually step in and follow a proven process, because I cost myself years
Yeah.
However, I gained so much more by that lesson, and now I'm here. So to your point, Justin, it is not a secret. It is a process and a system, and there's not one person here that will not win in a big way if you will follow a process.
Yeah. I say it to everyone that I speak to on the phone, Bill. I say to them, I've done it both ways. You know, I've done it the way where I've like studied from a distance, didn't have the right direction, didn't have the right mentorship, just kind of following my own way. Then I've done it the way where I've plugged into a system that was time tested and proven. And, you know, I created more results in like 1 month of being mentored by Bob than I did in 1 year of trying to do it on my own, you know. So it was a hard way to learn the lesson, but I learned the lesson, you know.
Yep.
We can't hear you, Tommy.
You're muted. We could all play the lip sync game though, huh?
No.
Do you know what I love about when we kind of deal with this a little bit is it just proves that we're human too, Tommy. So it's so amazing. What a blessing we have to do this. So Marcia, can you hear me, Marcia?
Yes, I can.
Why don't you go ahead and shoot your question?
Okay, it's more of something I'd like to hear you talk about versus a question. And that is speaking. It has to do with the decision making, and it's connected to self-image, but addressing how not to be affected or influenced by what others think. I'd like to have each one or some people to talk about that.
Yeah, it's such, that is a really valuable question.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, I was raised to worry about what other people think. But I will tell you, Marcia, there's no other form of freedom that I could think about when you can learn to not care what other people think. Now, you've heard Bob say, I want you to like me because I'm a good guy, right? Right. And so it's not like we don't want to offend anybody. However, it is the most liberating thing in your life as you learn how to understand that and apply it in your life. Because the truth is most people aren't thinking anyways.
Yeah.
So most of this is conjured up in your own way of thinking. And if you could just settle that down and take control of your mind and realize that they're not thinking anyway, so why does it matter? And then that gives you the permission to make the decision, right? And at the end of the day, there's not one soul that's going to take care of Marcia outside of you. You're it, right?
Yeah, that's really good. I honestly believe that not caring about what people think of you is literally a superpower, you know, because we're raised with that fear of criticism. I can't remember who I heard say this, so I can't give them credit. But I was listening to a clip one day and someone said, I'll take on people's opinions when I can pay my bills and mortgages with their opinions.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, that's so good, you know, because I was living my life caring what this person thought of me, what my family thought of me, what my friends thought of me, what people on Facebook or Instagram thought of me. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, I'm letting these people control my life, but I was losing, and I was losing in a big way, you know, so like on top of what Bill's point is, I really do believe it's a superpower, not caring about what people think of you. And it's like anything, right? Try it for one day. Like wake up, you're obviously during your day today, but wake up in the morning tomorrow and say to yourself, today I'm going to operate not caring what anybody thinks of me, right? And it might be uncomfortable in the first day. And then you wake up the next day and you do it the next day, and then the next day. And then all of a sudden it becomes a habit, right? Then it's first nature.
Yeah. So good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Cool. Melissa, welcome back as well.
Yes, I missed the question, but I think Bill and Justin covered it beautifully.
Are you complete, Marcia?
Yeah, I think it was both contributions are wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for your question. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, I'm going to read another question from the chat here. Let's see. From Melanka, that's a cool name. Do you have any advice or tip how to stay committed to the decision I make? I make a decision and after a while I become less motivated to stay committed to it. Oh yeah, great question. Go ahead. Who wants to go? Bill?
Yeah, sure. Listen, I think we're taught here as we work around Bob and Arash and the rest of our team, we're taught that when there's lack of commitment, it's not a real goal. It's not a real decision, right? You're not really living or married to the why you made the decision, right? And it's an interesting thing because you have to create that why. You have to develop that. I read all the time that confidence is created, right? And the emotional involvement of a want is desire. Well, the emotional involvement of a want or the emotional involvement of a good decision has to be generated. You have to do the work. Just because you made the decision, the work's not over. The actual work starts in that moment.
Yeah.
Right. And your paradigm and your habitual way of doing things. I mean, what did Bob say 2 days ago? He said the habitual, it almost controls everything in our life, the paradigm almost. And that almost is enough for you to open a door and get in there. But the almost is also not big enough to stop you from going backwards. So you have to literally be very conscious and be very focused.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Melissa? I don't know. She might be frozen again.
Okay. You got a screenshot. That'll be her new headshot.
Oh, there she is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
Okay, the desire has to be strong. If the desire is strong, just what Bill was just talking about with your why, you'll stay committed. I think just a short time ago here, my husband and I, we were, wanting to commit to our house and build our dream house and all of that. And, something that Bob taught me, he's like, you've got to be on the hook. You can't just be sitting and talking about the house and looking at the house, right? You've got to be on the hook. And so when you are on the hook for something, you're sufficiently motivated to make that happen. Every day I was waking up with that in mind, my house, not only because I wanted it, the desire was so strong, but I was also on the hook. We signed on the dotted line.
Yeah.
So I believe being on the hook is something that's a really good thing, without putting pressure on yourself, but you'll be sufficiently motivated to stay on track every day when you wake up, if that helps.
Yeah. I want to just read one more question here. We just have time for one more. Kiona, she put this in yesterday and we didn't have time to get to it, but I think it's a great question to end on. She says, why does it feel easier for me to provide a service or products for free versus being compensated, although I would like to be compensated? Is it because of my money paradigm or subconsciously not feeling worthy of receiving it?
Yeah, I think it's just your relationship to abundance, right? Sometimes we become martyrs. We think we just give away, when the fact is, I've heard Bob say for years, there's a lot of very brilliant people in amazing careers that just give everything away, that stay very mediocre in their results. So you got to develop a worthiness around that. You want to study the self-image process in harmony with that goal of you want to earn money. How much do you want to earn and why?
Yeah.
Right? And really build your image around that why, and you'll be surprised how quick your standard will raise, and you'll no longer accept it. That you would lower that.
Yeah, for sure. Final thought, Justin.
That's really good. That's hard to add on to, Bill, because that's pretty much right on. I think that when you really start to understand what money is and when you start to value yourself, then you'll attract everything that's on that frequency.
Yeah. Final thought, Melissa.
Well, and I would ask yourself, do you believe what you're providing is a valuable service? Look at what we do here at PGI. And I talk to a lot of coaches that come to us and they are charging less, or they're coaching people for free. Changing someone's life, it is, in my opinion, you can't put a price on that. Why would you not be charging if you have a valuable service that's helping, people, other companies? Then that's just work to do in the self-image, like what Bob was just, or Bill was just talking about, and Bob's talking about all the time. Work to do in the self-image.
Yep. And I think too, when you realize that money is just energy and the products and services you're doing are just energy, and you realize that energy has to be in circulation and there has to be an exchange, then you will figure that out for yourself too.
Yeah, that's so true.
So good.
And Arash said something to us today. We were having a little meeting earlier, and Arash said that, the mindset is greater than the emotions. So just check in and see what you're emotionally involved in, right? Mm-hmm. What are you connected to? And if you just remember that you're just working progressively, I mean, for heaven's sakes, you're here, right? You could take 100 people, and you're the only one out of 100 that's here. So you're moving forward. So give yourself credit for being here, and just like yourself a whole bunch more, and just keep walking this way. Just keep coming.
Yep. So good. Okay. That's a perfect place to end for today. Thank you, everyone who came and asked amazing questions and was brave. And thank you, coaches. It's been great to be with you again. And we'll see you guys back here for day 5 at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Have a great day.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.